In today's Thursday edition of Thailand News Today, Thai immigration officials have confirmed that the deadline for the so-called COVID visa extensions in Thailand has been moved to November the 26th. Meanwhile, the Dutch expat who sued a hospital over dual pricing is expected to hear the verdict on his case next Tuesday, and police have cracked down on bars in Patong that have been open and serving alcohol this entire time. Details on these stories coming right up. You're watching Thailand News Today, bringing you the latest news stories in Thailand. We broadcast Monday to Friday on the Thaiger channel, along with our other shows, Morning Top Stories, and our Good Morning Thailand talk show, so be sure to check those out as well. And in our first story, Thai immigration officials have confirmed that the deadline for the so-called COVID visa extensions has been moved to November the 26th. The previous deadline was September the 27th. The new date means foreigners in the kingdom can avail themselves of permission to remain until early next year at a cost of 1,900 baht. The COVID visa extension scheme came into force last year amid the onset of the pandemic as borders closed and foreigners found themselves stuck in Thailand. While most tourists have now returned to their home countries, some still remain, with their situation now exacerbated by Thailand's worsening COVID situation. Some governments have put the country on the high-risk or red list, meaning mandatory and expensive quarantine for anyone returning home from Thailand. There is also the requirement to show proof of vaccination. However, tourists in Thailand are not entitled to the government's free inoculation scheme. Anyone still here on the 60-day COVID visa extension now has until November the 26th to prolong their stay with the immigration authorities. Those extending close to that date will be granted permission to remain until the end of January of 2022. Next week, Thai authorities will announce the outcome of the highly anticipated dual pricing case where a Dutch expat claims he was overcharged for his cancer treatment at a Hua Hin hospital. Erwin Boos, who filed the anti-discrimination suit 2 years ago, said that the case was officially handed over to judges this week and a decision on the case will be announced next Tuesday. Erwin, who is a goat herder with his wife in Prachuap Khiri Khan province, claims he paid rates for his cancer treatment that were more than what Thai nationals were charged at Hua Hin hospital. While the cancer treatments were only a few hundred baht each time, Erwin says the fact that he was charged higher fees than Thai residents for medical care is unconstitutional. Back in September of 2019, the Thai government set a multi-tier pricing system for services and public hospitals in Thailand. Under the guidelines, foreigners who receive medical treatment or services at public hospitals pay more than Thais or those from neighboring countries for the exact same services. Under the pricing framework, foreigners who work or study in Thailand will be charged more for the same services, while retirees and tourists will be charged even more at double the cost for Thai citizens. Thailand's public health minister says all target groups will have received 2 doses of a COVID vaccine by the end of this year. In addition, Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul says certain groups will receive a 3rd or booster dose this year, and boosters will be administered to all in the coming year. He adds that there are currently between 700 to 800,000 doses being administered every day. The government announced that next year it will purchase an additional 100 million vaccine doses, which will serve as boosters to all target groups in the first 6 months of 2022, and that there will be a bigger choice of vaccines, while the price is also expected to come down. The health minister adds that while Thailand is still reporting a high number of daily new infections, his ministry will continue to procure the medication and equipment needed to treat patients. He says he believes everyone has done their best to manage the COVID-19 pandemic and believes that over time and with increased vaccination, the disease will become endemic and more manageable. As the government prepares to debate the future of the emergency decree that is expected to expire next Thursday, a new legal amendment means some of its powers could remain. The amended Communicable Disease Act gives officials the power to retain the current curfew and to impose new lockdowns. The government says the law will be used to fight serious disease outbreaks. The amendment was approved by Cabinet early this week and now needs parliamentary approval before being published in the Royal Gazette to make it official. However, the amendment will not go before Parliament until November, meaning it is unlikely to come into force before then. The director of the Emergency Health Hazard and Disease Control Division says various bodies will also need time to make the changes required by the amendment before the law can be implemented, and therefore it's unlikely to take effect as early as October the 1st. Meanwhile, officials meet today to discuss the future of the emergency decree, which has been in place since March of 2020 and is due to expire on September the 30th. A subcommittee of the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration will forward its recommendations to the main CCSA committee prior to its meeting next Monday. A temple in the western province of Kanchanaburi, serving as a rehab center, is being investigated for alleged abuse. Those recovering from drug addiction were reportedly housed in poor conditions and fed only 1 to maybe 2 meals a day, with bowls and spoons washed with dirty water. Reports say that 2, possibly 3 people died while in treatment, but no autopsies were done. A lawyer and a shaman have requested the Crime Suppression Division police to investigate and prosecute those responsible for the alleged torture and abuse of human rights that took place. Following the report, soldiers took 216 men from the drug rehabilitation facility at Wat Tha Purat Bamrung and transported them to a field hospital. The shaman says the living conditions at the center were deplorable and adds that the center was closer to hell on earth than an establishment that helps people recover from drug addiction. The shaman says he had first filed a police report with the district police station, but says the officers seemed uninterested in pursuing the case. He then turned to the Crime Suppression Division. Both the lawyer and the shaman who reported the facility to the police say they suspect an organized gang are behind the operation. The lawyer says what he saw at the temple was similar to human trafficking, placing people in a station where they are vulnerable and demanding money. While it's been illegal for bars to open in Thailand and the selling or consumption of alcohol in public is forbidden, it seems that some have been looking the other way as patrons sneak beers in bars in Patong, the famous entertainment and nightlife district in Phuket. But after over a month of this occurring under the radar, police have begun raiding and shutting down venues that have been bypassing the provincial order that bans the sale of alcohol. Officers raided the Sweetie Bar on the famous walking street on Bangla Road just after 10 p.m. on Monday night. After seeing alcohol for sale, they charged the owner with violating the Phuket provincial order that banned distributing alcohol and closed nightlife venues. On Tuesday night, police raided 21 bar and Harry's restaurant. Police say they are now increasing inspections and enforcing rules strictly to prevent anybody breaking the communicable disease safety measures and are calling on anybody who observes bars selling alcohol to call the National Police Hotline. Meanwhile, in Pattaya, police are also cracking down on alcohol sales and consumption. 15 people were arrested at a Jomtien restaurant for drinking alcohol. Last night, Pattaya City Police raided an unnamed restaurant in Jomtien that was suspected of selling alcohol. Officers arrived at the restaurant yesterday evening and arrested 15 people, including 9 foreign residents, on charges of violating provincial orders which ban alcohol consumption at restaurants. They were taken to the Pattaya City Police Station for legal proceedings. And that's all for the news today. Check out the videos that just popped up to continue watching content from the Thaiger channel. And this show, Thailand News Today, will be back tomorrow with more headlines. Meanwhile, you're now up to date on the Thaiger.